Be proud of them.
2, 3, good. Good. This is the future. These new titles and new positions, community, we're talking about community managers, people like that. This is what's coming. It's exciting. So, to help share that excitement, Brad is going to talk about the long tail and what he's doing at Butler. He's a great speaker. Please a warm welcome for Brad Ward.
Can you hear me in the back? Okay, I can hear myself, so that's good. Like I said, my name is Brad. What's the great thing about conferences is once you get to stand in front of everyone, the name tag goes off. So now that you all know me, you don't have to wear that. I wish I could have done that yesterday. Like I said, I'm the e-com coordinator. I just want to briefly tell you what that is basically. I work directly in the Office of Admissions at Butler. I have no travel territory. I do not meet with families. I do not read applications. I just do the web. One of my interview questions was, can you sit on the internet for 40 hours a week? Check. Yes. So I got the job, and it's great. I work at Butler University. It's a small private in Indianapolis, about 4,000 students. I have about incoming class of maybe 950 a year. So that kind of tells you where I'm coming from when I talk about this. Very supportive staff. They basically hired me and said, we need you to do this stuff that we keep hearing about. And so if you have people like that, that's great. If you don't have people like that, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but I think you need to understand this quite a bit and look at where we're going with all this. So the recruitment long tail. Who has read the long tail? A couple of you. That's what I expected. And then there's now the longer long tail. My friend Jeremy had this in his room, and I'm like, wait, there's another chapter? And I opened it up, and it's all about, selling what you can't sell and nonprofits. And I'm like, crap, so I redo my presentation. And I redo my presentation again. Then I redo my presentation this morning. So I think we're going to have fun today. And I've kind of looked at what we've already done with presentations and modified it to where we can talk about what I'm doing, what we're doing, or we can talk about, the heavy analytics and all that, whatever. But I'm going to tell you what the long tail is so you don't have to read a 200-page book. A little housekeeping, bradjward.com/presenting/daymates08 is where you can find my slides, a link to the book and all that. If you go there right now, you'll get a friendly message that says, please pay attention to me. So I see you all out there looking at the slides ahead and all that. But that's where you can find it all. And my wife FedExed my business cards because I totally forgot them. So I don't want to take them home. So come up here later. I got some up here. Get rid of them. Okay, so here's the long tail in a nutshell. This is a graph of the average number of plays for a song per month on Rhapsody. And you see up here the high, one song was played 6,100 times. And then down to 0. And these are the number of titles ranked by popularity. So there's about 500,000 titles. Those are all of the songs that Rhapsody has. This line here separates the brick and mortar against the internet. So this is Walmart, and that's all Walmart can offer because they're a brick and mortar. And this is what Rhapsody can offer past Walmart. This is the long tail here. And when you add up the long tail, there are songs out here, hundreds of thousands of songs that get played 4 times a quarter, maybe a month. But when you add up that long tail, they do better than Walmart because of it. And there's some other ones up here. For example, with Amazon, Barnes & Noble can only hold 30,000 books. That's what your space is limited to. Amazon, at the time this graph was made, 7.3 million books. And then Netflix, they have 25,000 DVDs. I wrote books, sorry about that. Blockbuster has 3,000 DVDs that they can hold in a store. So basically that's the long tail. And I read this book. I'm going to show you that in a second. When I read this book, I'm like, I love business books. I'm like, okay, that's cool. What does it matter to me at college? And so just kept thinking about it more and more. And just to kind of illustrate this, you got a Walmart with 60,000 tracks. Does anybody have any clue how many songs are on iTunes? I think it's going to go up? Yes. Seriously, keep watching. 8 million and counting songs on iTunes. That's huge. So when I looked at this, again, I said, that's cool. How does it apply to my job? How does it apply to what I'm doing? And this is the main graph of the long tail. You have the head, you have the long tail. And then I started looking at analytics. And I cut out the outliers, I cut out the home page and the /visit and the /apply. And I said, holy crap, this is seriously straight from our website. And we have 10,000 URLs. That's insane, yes. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But, I mean, you look at that and you say, oh, wow, okay. So then I start doing a little research on this long tail. And, you have the 80-20 rule where 80% of your business is from 20% of your people, and people say, oh, cut that other 20%. We don't care about it. So when I looked at the upper 80% of our traffic, it was coming from 1,100 pages on our site that averaged 678 views. And then I looked at the lower 20%, and I said, okay, there's 8,800 pages. What is that junk, And each page averages 23 views. And we look at that, when most people say, why do you have all that content? Nobody? I did. Yeah, okay, some head shakes here. And so then I took that 80% and the 20% looked at them, and in that the bottom 20%, 91% of the page views in that long tail come from /CS on our site. And then in the upper 80%, about 30% of the traffic is there. Anybody have the what is /CS question? Yes, okay. This is go.butler.edu/CS. I started it last August, and it is basically, it's hosted on Community Server, which is a platform like Ning that you have to pay for. I love Ning, but couldn't use it, so we have this. The /CS came because our IT people installed it, and we're not creative. It's a Community Server /CS. I'm like, what does that mean? So here we are, /CS. And when you go here, you have across the top, you see blogs, forums, photos. And then here are bloggers, and they kind of look like Facebook status updates. That is actually Twitter in use. I know we're talking about Twitter a lot. We're using the Twitter API to pull in. Each one of these students have a Twitter account. They can update from their phone. They can update from their laptop in class. Loving fall break, trying to figure out my schedule. Home sweet home, it feels good to be there. In Vegas till Sunday, winter chicken dinner. And so that's kind of what that is. And we basically modeled it to look like Facebook, because when you see, Brad is : that's a Facebook stats update. And, we have our other, upcoming chats, shout outs for certain blog posts, more of the bloggers, Facebook, YouTube, etc. And then this is a Twitter of everyone, if you want to just scroll through and see all the recent updates. So that's what CS is. And when you look at that and you say, this guy has this with all these bloggers and everything, but 91% of the page views in that lower 20% we don't care about come from here. That's bad. Why would you even want to do something like this? So I'm just going to give you some quick stats because it is very effective. And in the first 2 weeks of October, in the forums, we had 117 new students sign up that created 301 forum posts. There were 62 blog comments from prospective students on 24 of the bloggers' posts. This /CS section accounted for 29% of our admission sites traffic. But the thing is, sure, those pages are averaging 23 page views, but to those 23 people who went to that site, that was the exact information they needed. They searched, what are the dorm visiting hours? And they got the forum post of what the dorm visiting hours were. And so really where those 10,000 page views come from, every time we post a blog, every time there's a blog comment, every time there's a forum post, forum response, every time a kid joins a page and has a new profile page, every single one of those creates a new URL. And so that's where this 10,000 is coming from. And it's all coming from right here. And so when you look at the long tail, I realize the conversation is in the long tail. And that's where these kids have the opportunity to come to our website, ask a very specific question to a current student, and get the information that they need at that very given time. And it's user generated. I would never create 8,800 pages on my website. We put that up, sat back for a year, boom, content galore. It's just, It's there now, and so it's fully indexed, categorized. You can Google it, get the information you need. At one point last year, if you searched Butler Exploratory Program, my blogger Anna was number 4 on Google above the actual program on our university website. And so kids were going straight there, getting information from a student, learning what classes are actually like, and what the struggles were, what the great parts were. And so when you cut the conversation, you have a one-stop shop, basically. You have a static website with no dynamic content that doesn't give any kid a reason to come back until they have another question. What we're doing with the forums, I kind of consider myself a community manager in a sense also, and I kind of am in there, kids ask questions and we're answering them. I have 9 student bloggers that are amazing. They literally answer questions until 2 a.m. for me. And so if that wasn't there, then we're not allowing these kids to ask questions, and they're going to go out to other areas on the web. If you have questions, stop me at any point, by the way. I'm sorry, I forgot to throw that out there. If you cut that and you don't allow that conversation, one, it's not going to be on your website, and so you do not have the moderating abilities. We don't moderate, but it's nice to have that if we want to. 2, it's easier to track. You hear of, blogs, Twitter, Facebook, and Flickr, all this. It's tough to go out to all those sites. I do it, but by hosting a lot of this conversation, it makes my job a lot easier because I can just go to our website and the conversation is there. And so as participation increases, content increases, and engagement increases. Basically, that's kind of self-explanatory, but the more we get kids involved, if there are only 3 kids posting on the forum in a week, there's no conversation. If 15 to 20 kids are in there asking questions, responding to each other and all that, then the content's skyrocketing and the engagement is skyrocketing as well because they want to come back, they want to ask questions. And the more you can connect a kid to your university, the more likely I think they're not going to melt off. Yes?
We both were from Indiana as well.
Yes.
And we had
What school are you from?
I'm sorry?
What school are you from?
I am.
Okay.
How do you get your student bloggers? We tried to get student bloggers, and they
Yeah, okay, student blogger, I have a whole separate presentation on that, but in a nutshell, Facebook. I put an ad on Facebook, like Carlos talked about yesterday, said, do you want the coolest job on campus? Email me. I might say the word blogger in there. This year I had 76 applications for 9 spots. And we do pay our bloggers, by the way, $8 an hour for 3 hours a week. It's a very nominal fee. In 2005, in my senior year of college, I was a student blogger, was not paid, and it was just, it was horrible. And then when I worked at that university, and I overtook the blogger program and they weren't paid, I saw the other side, and it was so hard to even get a post a month. But when you have a monetary value on that, and you can say, hey, post this week, and if you don't, we can't pay you. But we're very hands-off. I basically hire them and say, see you in May, and that's what it is. And anything they post goes live, but it's really, it's not handpicking students. It's not going out there and finding the kids who, you use for your photo shoots, for your brochures. It's legitimately throwing it out there and seeing what you get. And then on the back side, it's kind of like a 2-page, almost like a survey, and just random questions. There's an ink blot test on there that resembles a bulldog call. Our mascot's the Bulldogs. It says, what do you see? One girl says, oh, that's Butler Blue 2's Brent, our mascot. He's my favorite. Cool, you like Butler. Then there's the guy who's like, it's an elephant with a mustache. I'm like, that's no school spirit. You got to see the bulldog print. And so most kids that see that do end up getting hired. But just random questions. And on the other side, also going to their Facebook pages and printing them out and kind of, there is some research to it. But I think you'd be surprised if you just threw an ad out there and said, who wants a really cool job, and kind of approached it that way. Does that answer you pretty well? Okay. And then, you look at other areas in the photos on the site. There's a long tail there. There are long tails within long tails. YouTube videos on our site, or that we host on YouTube, it's kind of the same thing. And again, it goes back to, for those people who saw that picture, they might have really connected with that picture. Or the person who watched the YouTube video that only has 7 views, that might have been what they needed to see about Butler. One of our most popular videos, I gave a girl a flip camera to go have fun. She came back with a 6-minute tour of her sorority house. I liked it because I never, haven't seen the inside of a sorority house lately. And and so, it's 700 views in a week, and it was just, obviously there were probably guys on YouTube searching, what's the sorority house look like on the inside? But yes, there are long tails within long tails. So, I'm going to stop there. Yeah.
I just surmised that maybe not people.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop there because that's kind of the overview of the long tail. Does anyone have questions? Yes.
You said you had your bloggers just posting directly to the website.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a problem with that, or a problem with inappropriate comments?
The question was, I allow my bloggers to post directly to the site. Have I had problems with that? I straight up tell them. I invite them to my house for a cookout, and when we do our training, I say, you are the voice to 75 to 120,000 prospects, suspects. They're not going to be seen by all those people, but there's a chance. I say we're picking 9 kids that we think represents Butler, and you're kind of a rock star. Right? We were going to rename them Butler Rock Stars this year, but I already had Butler bloggers, and I like the alliteration and all that, so we didn't do it. But there have been situations. I have a pharmacy student this year. They go through clusters. It's very stressful. He went back and posted a blog about his 78 cup, basically it was a beer bong party, but it was just red cups. And he was very eloquent in his wording. And so we left it because he never said, we were drinking or anything. It was a picture of cups on a table. And literally the Halloween posts, I went to a party, those are the most viewed posts. Now, is that what we want to put out there? Not always, but is that what kids really want to see? Usually. And so we've never told a blogger to take a post down or told them to edit it in a year and a half. So, but there have been a few isolated situations. And basically I tell them the 3 Ps are looking at your blog, your parents, your peers, and your professors. And when you remind them of things like that, and I have a good example that my blogger Allison last year, who was a senior, went into a job interview in Virginia, and they said, oh, we saw that you were doing this last weekend with your sorority. How did that event go? She said she froze and was like, holy crap, they read my entire blog, on my way out here. And so that's a pretty good example too. I had a hand over here somewhere.
Yeah. Do you have, we just started blogging in our admission office, and we have 4 counselors who blog.
Yes.
And do you have counselors who blog as well? Or
The picture got cut off here. We have 2 counselors and a bulldog. The bulldog is the most popular blogger. Seriously. We do have two admission counselors who also have the Twitter and kind of say, hey, I'm heading to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they have gotten emails like, oh, I didn't know you were in my area. Are you coming to my school? And so, really what Twitter is between the blog posts. It's the little crap that, I'm heading to Starbucks. I'm going to study in the library. You're not going to write a post about that, but that's a part of college. And, when Jake here says he's in Vegas till Sunday on Wednesday, Monday there was a blog post about Vegas, which was good because I was honestly afraid he wouldn't make it back. That's the 78 Cup kid. But yeah, so really what we're doing there, because, Chris, we talked a little bit about MySpace versus Facebook. I would highly suggest that you just ask your incoming students what they use. I have some research I could show you later. It's in a slide. But 2 out of 340 incoming kids this year said they use Twitter. So why am I going to use Twitter? I'm not using it. They don't think I'm using Twitter. They don't have to have an account to see that. They don't have to sign up. They don't have to follow me to see that. It's about embedding the content. I could care less how many followers these bloggers have. Because at this point in time, Twitter is not the tool for recruiting. This is what we're using, but we can use Twitter to enhance that. Any more questions? Yes.
Is this off of your homepage or is this off of your prospective students page?
It actually, the link from www.butler.edu was just removed last week for an open house, but other than that, it's always there. And then from go.butler.edu, which is our admission site, it's kind of more of a micro site, it's linked from there as well. Yeah.
Now, the good thing about the user-generated content, the long tail, but the whole other idea that less is more, that you less stuff, really good stuff. But how do you handle navigation, and how do you find making sure that you're not too cluttered with these 10,000 pages worth of stuff?
He mentioned the subtitle of the book. It's Why the Future of Business is Selling Less of More, and kind of is this the future of recruitment? Is offering less of more? Basically, your question was about navigation. And
how do you handle all this stuff?
I mean, it's really not, because
you just let it get buried.
Well, if you go into the forums, I mean, if you hit search there and typed in Hinkle Fieldhouse, you're only going to get the posts of Hinkle Fieldhouse, and that's what the kid wants. When you go into all the bloggers, they have the tag cloud on the side. So if you clicked, Chicago, you would see all of that girl's posts from Chicago, which is her hometown. But it doesn't feel cluttered. If you were to go to /cs/forums, I mean, it's a forum, and all forums look the same basically. It's searchable. So.
Are you using a particular software for that? Or
Community server.
Communityserver.com,
I think it is. Don't write that down. Username. It's $5,000. It's stupid. Don't pay for it. Go username. It's free. Anybody else? Yes.
Do your admissions reps tell their prospective students?
No, they don't. That's what's bad. I've had a lot of problems with buy-in, getting our admission counselors to tell kids about it, and it's been kind of a grassroots campaign for me. Like, hey, can we send an email out this month about it? Sure. And when we do, we get 200 new kids in the forums. But that has been a struggle for me, is to get others to see the value of it and to utilize it. Because this is a true story. I was sitting in a meeting showing people what this could do. Does everybody have the telephone lady? It's kind of off in the corner and answers the phone. She raises her hand and says, "Are you trying to put me out of a job?" with the most serious look on her face. And I'm like, no, we're enhancing, we're letting kids communicate this way if they want. Not every kid is going to join your forums, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that more too, but it's a struggle. Yes?
From conception to implementation, how long did this take you?
I started in June and it was live in August. So, and that's another thing, the whole red tape issue. There are still people who say, I have no clue how you got this going so quickly. I had to submit a 12-page proposal to the Vice President, the Board of Trustees, and the President about this, about moderating comments and all that, and how we were going to handle it. And so, I moved pretty quick because I was new and I was excited and energized, but not doing that now. Any other questions? Or can I keep going here? Okay, so we've done that. Questions, we've done that. Okay, old and busted. This is the old and busted way of recruiting. You standing on your corner with your megaphone. Hey, I'm Butler, everybody, come look at me. You can't do that anymore. You have to have a set of tools that, are very specific to each kid. Every kid communicates differently. We are in the middle of a huge shift of the way we all communicate. Everyone in this room, 5 years ago, maybe you're just getting a cell phone for the first time, and now, 97% of people, their cell phone never leaves within 3 feet of them all day. Think about it. Mine doesn't. Right now it does, because, I'm about 8 feet away. But it's in my pocket, it's on my desk, I go home, it's on my nightstand. And you think about that, everything is shifting, and obviously I wasn't around for admissions in the 80s and 90s, but I'm sure it was pretty static, and there was the paper, and when you could call in to register for a class, that was huge, and that was 5 years. Everything I used this year, I didn't use last year really, except for the Blogger platform. Everything I'll probably use to recruit the fall 2010 class might be new. It's just everything's popping up so quickly. So, what is social media? Has everyone heard that word yet for this conference? Okay. Social media to me is people having conversations online. That's the drilled down answer for me. And I mean, to everyone it might be a little different, but that's basically how I see it. And the important thing, I think, is before you dive into a lot of this slide actually came from Colin, because we had a good talk about it on the phone one day. And don't get into a lot of this stuff until your .edu website is a solid. You know, if it's not easy to apply, then all of that doesn't matter, because all of those, the only thing those are there are to get a kid to apply to your school. And so until things are easy to do on your website, I mean, sure, you can venture out a little bit, but definitely look at those first and correct those. I would highly suggest usability tests. Get 5 $10 Starbucks gift cards and go to a high school, set a kid down on a computer for 20 minutes, and have them do stuff on your website. Say, I want you to apply, and watch them. We built a whole new counselor search. It was a flash, and there was the map, and you could click everything, and it was so cool. Sat a girl down, and said, okay, find your counselor. She did it. It worked. I'm like, great. And she goes, how do I contact him? I looked at, there was no email, there was no phone number on any counselor's page. And, you know, it had been up for 5-6 months. We thought it was a great tool, but until we did that usability testing and saw, you know, ultimate fail, it was horrible. And another good one about the forums, I had a girl post a question, and you know, you kind of have the questions you want to ask, and in both instances, these were just random things that popped up in my head. So the girl asked the question in the forum, you know, had registered, everything went well. I said, how long do you think you should wait for a response? She goes, about an hour. What? You know, and she goes, maybe 2 hours? And like, that was huge to me, because I'm thinking, you know, a kid leaves a comment at 10 at night, I'll get it in the morning, you know. So it kind of trained me to say, you know, I need to check in every once in a while, you know, 9 to 11, because our hours are 8:30 to 5. For a kid in California, that's 5:30 to 2. And how many kids do you know that are going to be looking at colleges during those times? I don't think many. They should be at school. So, okay, we're going to play a game real quick, because, you know, it's after lunch, it's Friday. Everybody's looking a little. Lunch was good though. Okay, everybody put your pens down, laptops, whatever. I'm going to show you a slide for 10 seconds. Chris, don't ruin this. I'm going to show you a slide. Make it stick. Yeah, I'm going to show you a slide for 10 seconds. When I take it away, I want you to take your pen and write down everything you remember from it, okay? But don't write yet until I tell you to write. I apologize if you can't see this. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay. Just 10 seconds to write, so it's simple, please. Okay, pens down. How many letters did you remember? 10? 8? 13. Wow. Killing me. I gave you 12 seconds. Usually the average is about 7 to 9. So, okay, we're gonna play again. Pins down. Everybody ready? Go ahead and write. Pens down. I'll do it too. All of them. Did everyone see what happened? That's what happened to you. So basically the concept here is when you were doing this stuff, this kind of basically going back to branding and, you know, the look of everything you're doing. If everything is, you know, he's doing this on Facebook and somebody else is doing this out there, it's not going to make sense. And so when you're looking at all this, you really need to make it all look the same. Because obviously, like I said, you're trying to push the traffic back to your website and just stay consistent, have a good message. I hate saying, you know, the message and control the message because you don't own the message anymore. But what you are doing, you need to make sure that it's pretty much, you know, the same across all boards. Now, obviously, there are situations where you would want to try something a little edgier or catchier. What was the university that just did the blah, 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 you know, with their alumni? That did not go well. So know your audience and then make sure it's going to work, make it look good and all that. So that's our game. if that stimulated your mind a little bit. Okay, so we've heard about return on investment. We've heard about return on influence. So here comes your new one. Return on conversation. I didn't want to use an I, so. Basically, return on conversation. This comes from the book Join the Conversation by Joseph Jaffe. What value are you adding or subtracting from a conversation by joining it? I have Google Alerts galore set up, and I get a lot of blog posts and moms who said, oh, we just went to visit Butler. It was lovely. And here's a picture of Janie by the bulldog. And, you know, I could comment on that because it's there, but she just posted it 3 hours ago, and I don't want to look like some crazy guy who's just all over the internet. Whereas a girl who posted on her live journal says like, man, I don't know about that Butler visit, you know. I think you can leave a comment there and say, hey, what was the issue? And so you can add and subtract value. And the biggest example of this for me, when I first started, the Butler class of 2011 was coming in. I don't have the slide here, I wish I did, but there were 700 kids in the incoming class of 950 in this group. And it was literally on the wall, question, no answers, except for kids who were, and other incoming kids who were answering questions for each other. This one kid said, is there wireless in the dorms? And Maggie says, no, there's definitely not. I remember that from my tour. Well, we do have wireless. And that kid, I actually know him, and he took his laptop back and got a desktop. And for Maggie, she could have visited our campus in 2005 as a sophomore. We might not have had wireless then, but it was relative to her. And millennials, obviously, they always know the right answer. So Maggie shared that with this kid, and it was incorrect. So looking at that, we said, wow, we've really got to be on that next year. So I joined the Butler class of 2012 after the students started it. Basically said, I'm here just to answer questions for you. So a good example of this is my favorite story here. There are 393 blue Smurfs in that picture. The story, the headline reads, Croatian Smurfs left blue-faced as world record attempt falls sadly short. Some guy, probably Matt Kurzberger, says, hey guys, this is world record. 300 blue Smurfs. We're gonna crush it. We're gonna do 400. And so they do it. And the organizer of the event says, we read on the internet that the record was 290 people. The problem was the record was now closer to 500. So if I'm here with 393 of my buddies painted in blue, and I have to tell them we missed it, Can we try this again next weekend? I don't think they're going to be happy if we see a blue chasing me. And so you need to make sure that the correct information about your university is out there, and you have to monitor this conversation that's going on. There's a lot of bad information, but the worst thing that happened to me this summer, our vice president changed our application deadline from December 1st to November 15th. I will just change it on our brochures, whatever, it's done. I Google that, December 1st Butler, Princeton Review, MSN and Carta, literally, I had a list of 30 sites that said our application deadline is December 1st. So I had to go through and email every one of those companies and websites and, Farmcast and CASPA, and it was unreal because 5 years ago, maybe you could just change something in one place and it was cool, but with the web and the way it's grown and the aggregation, it's blown up. I spent a couple of weeks trying to get all these sites changed, and so you really need to also think about the web when you're doing this stuff and think about the implications for things like that. And Kyle says I stole this slide from him, so if you see this picture next presentation, I apologize.
I'm not using it.
But one of the main points of the book, obviously, is you can only offer so much offline. You can only have so many CDs in the store. You can only have so many DVDs at a Blockbuster. And so when I look at my inbox and I see that I went home at 5:02 p.m. and these are all new forum posts all the way to 11:42 p.m., that makes me feel really good inside. Why? One, I was not doing it. I was not working. Two, I trust my students and I know they gave great information there. Very authentic in just what they think. And 3, I know there are many, many prospective students in here who got great information at the time they wanted it, at the place they wanted it. Do you have any questions, anybody? Okay. Does anyone read Seth Godin in here? No. You got feedback there? Check him out. This is from his book Meatball Sunday, and basically Meatball Sunday, you know, meatballs are kind of what you do, it's your main thing, and you know, the CEO wants the cool new tools, the Sunday, but when you put those together, they can fail. Who's going to eat a meatball Sunday? No one. So, and again, when I read his business stuff, you have to replace, you know, customers with students or business with students and things like that. So this is a paraphrase. It's not about what you think the students want or want the students to want. It's about creating and assembling a collection of tools that captures the attention of people who truly care. So I'm going to break that down because I read the book twice and skimmed over it both times, and the third time it really hit me when I read it. It's not about what you think the students want. I always think I know what the students want, you know. Oh, they want Twitter. Oh, they want Facebook. Oh, they want MySpace, whatever. But it's not. It's not about what you want the students to want. Again, I want them to use these tools. One, because I'm passionate about it, and I love it, and I'm putting so much of my time and energy into it, that I want these kids to want this. But it's about creating and assembling a collection of tools. Going back to the Swiss Army knife, for a visual kid, they want to see pictures on Flickr. For the English major, she wants to read blogs. For, I don't know, just other examples. For a kid who just wants something quick, maybe they want Twitter. They only want 140 characters. It's the collection of tools that captures the attention of people who truly care. And that last line is huge for me. The people who truly care. Because we only have so many resources. And when I look at our funnel and see how dramatically, you know, suspects, prospects drop off, I'm not going to, you know, for me, the admitted students are a lot of this forums and stuff. We really push it hard there. Obviously, you need to get the prospective students in, and you can have those sites out there. But the people who truly care, those are the ones who are really going to click with you, and they're going to join the forums. There's the 99-1 ratio. You know, there's 1% of people who are just going to, you know, the content creators right here. These are kind of the 1% of the conference. They're just going nuts, a few of these. And then 9%, maybe there's another 9% of in on Twitter kind of watching what they're talking about right now. I should check. 31 results. Wow. And then there's the 90%, you know, everybody else who's soaking this in, but that's not your tool. That's not what you're using. We're here. You're with me. And, you know, they're going to look at my slides later on my website or something. But yeah, when I have the forums and I look at the analytics, you know, 30,000 page views, yeah, but I was only connecting with like 100 students real deep. And so keep that ratio in mind that when you're doing things and you only have, you know, 500 fans on Facebook and that depresses you, there are a lot of people out there looking at it and just not necessarily engaging with you. Okay, this was last week. As I said, application deadline is coming up November 15th. You click the Apply Now button there. And this is our online application. We weren't getting a lot of online applications. So, did somebody call the office and tell us our application was down? No. Did someone email their counselor, shoot me an email? No. Did that mom who wrote the blog call me up? So we're good friends now because I commented on her blog? No. Danielle, Manhattan, Kansas, senior, prospect 4. We didn't even send her a review book this year. Why is Butler's website being retarded? Hey, this is October 8th at 2:40 p.m. Unfortunately, I kind of took that night off. I didn't see this until the next morning. Shoot her a message, Danielle, what's the problem? Start looking around. Your website's broke. I can't even apply to your school. You know, I'm like, you know, I look at that. You know, that was 16 hours ago. How many other kids were there last night who didn't apply? So I call her IR and said, hey, our application's down? They're like, what? I said, yeah, can you check it out? oh, it is down. Click, whatever they do over there, and then it would back up. But like, how long could we have possibly went if we didn't have our finger on the pulse and were, looking at what people were saying? So are you listening? There is a gigantic train coming. I wish I had a train, yes.
How did you find that?
Search.twitter.com, type in your school, and hit the RSS up in the corner. And I go into my Google Reader, and anytime someone mentions Butler on Twitter, I have it. Gerard Butler from P.S. I Love You apparently is the hottest guy in the world. Because 57 people a day say the word Butler on Twitter. I need a butler. Where's my butler? Ha ha. Like, no, not many people have a butler, but they all think they do on Twitter. We're just web geeks. But yeah, do that and subscribe. I don't have to go there and search it every day because it's coming into my RSS. I don't have time to search on every site every day to see if there's new things. I let the RSS do it for me. And that's how I found out about Danielle. So I thought about putting a little note in her application. I don't know what I would say. But yeah, maybe it was good. Maybe, wow, she helped us. That's great. So yes, there's a train coming. And I don't want you to get run over. Because I like you guys. Girls and everyone. We're friendly people. We've had a good time here. So you really need to keep an eye on this and start looking at this. Google has this great thing. This isn't a website or anything. It's a policy. If you work at Google, 20% of your time goes to new stuff. I believe Gmail came from that. Is that correct? Gmail came from the 20%. Some guys, girls sitting there said, hey, what would it look like if we made something online for email? And so 20% of their week, they worked on it. And now it's unreal. I would never imagine life without Google. I was one of the idiots who paid $10 on PayPal to get an invite so that I could have gregdayward@gmail.com. Like, I saw it and I saw what it could do, and I'm like, that is amazing. I couldn't wait for it to go public, and I had to do it. But think about that. Think about taking 20% of your week. What is that, 4 hours? What would it look like if you took 4 hours a week and started trying some of this stuff? I have a friend at Franklin College in Indiana, and she was at one of my presentations, and we actually just presented together last 2 weeks ago, which was awesome because in February, January, March, wherever it was, she heard all this, and she said, I don't want to get hit by the train. And so she went to her boss and said, is it okay if I start taking a little bit of time every week and, let's start messing with social media a little bit. Let's see what kind of connections we can make. And her boss is cool because she used to work at Butler. So that's why I think she's cool. But she said, sure, and log your time. Not because I'm going to dock your pay or whatever, but I also want to know how much time you're going to spend on this. So now, they're doing Ning, they're doing all kinds of crazy, awesome stuff. And that's why I say it's cool that I got to present with her, because they're now looking at splitting her from a full-time admission counselor to half admission, half this. Now, I think that's a step. I honestly believe for bigger schools that you do need something larger than like a half-time. It's a pretty dedicated job. But they're going there. And because she raised her hand in a meeting and said, I want to start a Facebook page. I want to try this. I want to start a blog. And from what she's told me, things are going amazingly well. She's become passionate about this and just has a whole new love for her job because of the things she's being able to do at work. So let's do some secrets to long-tail recruitment. Okay, these are a lot of this is out of the book, so this is Chris Anderson talking about me. Think niche. Again, visual kids might want to clicker. 10 minutes? Okay, thank you. Think niche. We need to focus on, you got the resources and everything, but where can you really connect with certain kids? I use Zench, which full disclaimer, I'm on their board of advisors, but I think Zench.com is a great tool. I can target kids in Ohio, 17-year-old males who enjoy basketball and are within 200 miles of our campus. And I can send them a message. I can target, females from Montana who are going to be first-generation students who are looking for financial aid and send them a message. Last year at Same HO7, Tim, Tim Robbins, yes. He said, become as good at narrowcasting as you are at broadcasting. We can all shoot an email out to everyone, but think about narrowing that in. Where can you segment and target, going back to what Connor was saying about email? And the same thing in social media. Where can you really narrowcast someone? The cool thing I like about Zench is when a kid asks me a question, I can just click on their profile, see that this guy is involved in football, and say, hey, good luck at your football game on Saturday or Friday or whatever. And, it took me 10 seconds, but that was really deep for that kid. I'm going to get to these in case you have questions. One size does not fit all. You do not have one strategy. Basically, it is what it is. One size does not fit all. Lose control. You no longer own the conversation. There's so much going on out there. You need to be a part of it, and don't walk in there with your suit and tie on and say, I'm here on Facebook ready to talk. You got to get a little more casual and relax. Crowdsource. Chris Brogan is the king of crowdsource. He already told you this. It's like, hey, how do you do this? How do I change my tire? He's got like 80 responses in a minute. Think about going back to the long tail and the content generation, how you can crowdsource some of this, because I'm horrible at wanting to do everything. I'm a control freak, and I have to do everything. But, why should I run around campus and create videos when I can get little flip cameras to 4 or 6 of my bloggers, say, here's the password to YouTube, go have fun. All of a sudden I have 30 videos, and I'm like, that's cool. I didn't do any of that this week, and now it's there. Think and not or. This is what I need to get better at. Think Facebook and MySpace, not Facebook or MySpace. Think, Flickr and Picasa, not Flickr or Picasa. Think bigger. Do everything if you can. Obviously we have limited resources, but like I said, I need to get better at this. I don't agree that MySpace should be used for our recruitment, but there are kids I'm missing out on. After the comments, I had all this cool extra stuff. There are 24% of kids who came to Butler last year that I missed out on because I was on Facebook or MySpace. Luckily, they came. So, back to this. And understand free. Free is kind of shifting. I think Twitter's going to start having ads soon. You need to understand that all these tools are free, but there is a potential implication that one day it might cost. And honestly, when that happens, I just go to the new tool, the new cool thing. That's usually what happens. So I'm going to really quickly show you. Groundswell is a great book. Concentrate on relationships, not technologies. This is my separate presentation in case we had questions. What was I show here? This one. Were you ever helped with a question about Butler through a social media site? Out of 312 kids, 62% of them said yes. And the one that tickles my heart, that other universities and colleges use these types of sites to contact you, 78% said no. At first I was like, yes, I'm the champion. But then I was like, no, because I want you guys to do this too. I want you to connect, and I would love to see that yes equal my yes, because this is where kids are connecting and collaborating and having conversations. I'm not going to show you that. I don't know. Do we have some questions real quick? Is that like 10 minutes? 10 minutes? No questions? I'll go through some if you want me to.
Brad, I just sent you a good example to send on Twitter.
Okay, well, great. These are my Google alerts, for example. So I have Butler University, Butler Bulldogs, Butler U. Think, if you're like West Virginia University, WVU, get all of those in there. Google.com/alerts. You type it in what you want to send you. You can have it as it happens. You can have it once a day. And, it's an email on my inbox. I've obviously got to sort it out. That's not what my inbox looks like. It's not overwhelming. This is the class of 2012 Facebook group this year and its growth. I started every Wednesday writing down how many members were in it, how many wall posts were in it, how many discussion posts were in it. Woo, straight up. I mean, it amazed me how quick it grew in the conversation that was going on there and looking at what would we have missed out on if we weren't there. Feel free to throw out questions. It is. I love it. And down here at the bottom, if you go to my blog, squarepeg.com, it's on this card if you want it. At the top it says Class of 2012. Just click on that and you can have all the research on that and all my blog posts on, you know, how we entered the group and what we did specifically and how we targeted kids through that. And that research is kind of boring. This is just kind of showing blog posts on Twitter, how Twitter fills the gap. And then when you have a Twitter update and then later the blog post, kind of that relationship, what kids can expect. This is our twitter.com/Butler admission page. Going back to, you know, Danielle, my friend, just kind of, you can see the examples of how I'm connecting with people. It's not always a prospective student. I saw a kid, he said, I'm excited for college, I just got all A's. And I said, hey, that's great, where are you thinking about going? He said, I'm only in 8th grade, I'll figure it out later. And you know, Chuck here is an alumni of Butler, and he said, just had a great time on Butler's campus. I shot him a message. How was your day? I hope it was great. Thanks for taking the time to join us. And he said, you know, Sunny and 78, can't beat that. We have this joke on campus, the Butler bubble, because it, you know, like the fishbowl, it's kind of a small campus, everybody knows everybody's business. I said, Chuck, with the help of fine alumni like yourself, we can make the Butler bubble a reality. Sunny and 78 all day, donate today. Now, to most people, that might not mean anything, but for him to think back, oh, the Butler bubble, and, you know, maybe I can figure out if he's given a donation in the past 3 weeks and do a little ROI. But it's all about conversation here. This is Josh. He was the leader of the Facebook group. So I would send him messages, that research I showed you, I sent him a link. I said, Josh, I want you to send this out. So what did Josh do? Subject, beer pong. Great. And so he sent a message that said, no, this has nothing to do with beer pong, but I knew it would get your attention. He sent that out at 5 o'clock. By the time I got to work the next day, I had 125 responses out of a group of 350 kids at the time. And I was sitting there on my computer at 10:30 at night on Google Documents watching these results come in real time. Like literally every few seconds somebody was doing this. And again, it's kind of crowdsourcing there, you know. Hey, you do this for me. And he's a great guy. So YouTube, it's kind of cool. We did a viral video. It had a view every 88 seconds for 8 days. And, you know, 11,000 views in 13 days. I basically go to Kyle's presentation if you want to learn about URL tracking, but I did that. I gave specific key influencers and groups a specific tracking code. So I sent one link out to my 9 bloggers represented here. They accounted for 3,400 views. Just those 9 kids passing it on. And so again, you know, I picked 6 groups, gave them a link, and sat back and enjoyed 13,000 views. And you know, it's like, well, what's 13,000 views? How many ads did you get out of it? Again, it goes back to just the connections. And I guest lectured this week in a PR class and asked how they saw the video. 3 kids in there said, my mom sent it to me. I could not make the connection. So I'm about out of time. I'm actually heading out here in a few hours, but if you want to talk to me, I'll be over here. I'd love to chat with you guys. Feel free to grab business cards. Do we have any final questions? Hope that wasn't too much information. Bloghyet.org, quick shout out. Matt and I started that site last year at this conference. We basically aggregate about 20 higher education blogs so you can subscribe to one RSS, or if you want to be old school, you can do it by email, but I know when it hits your inbox you won't read it, because I saw his hand go up earlier. But that's a pretty cool resource. There's a lot of good blogs out there, and we're just collecting some of them. Yes, thank you.
We're going to take a little break and then we're going to move into the rooms. I don't have to demonstrate the door thing again, do I? Okay, good. I want to say 2 quick things or 3 quick things before we do that. One, something that we don't talk about often enough when we're talking about social media, the world of social media, living on the social web. We have a group of people over here, probably several other people spread around the room who've been tweeting all day. Thanks to Chris Brogan, we've become the #1 trending conversation, at least for a while today on Twitter. We don't, get an Academy Award for that, but we get some street cred in the social media world, and we appreciate it very, very much. But the thing that I think about that is the tremendous